So who are Sacco and Vanzetti? We're in Goal 9, roaring 1920s, Great Depression, and the New Deal. So there are two Italian immigrants. They're accused of killing a cop. They are socialists, like they've admitted socialists. And we're during a first Red Scare, so Americans are very scared that someone's going to overthrow our government. What ends up happening is they're accused of killing this cop. Everybody in the media starts reporting they're automatically guilty of it. But remember, in America, you are innocent until proven guilty. But the media keeps going guilty, 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 guilty. And so by the time a jury is picked, the jury has in their head that these people are guilty of killing the cop and being anarchists who want to overthrow the government. And so what ends up happening is they get a trial in the media versus a trial in the courtroom, which you're supposed to get, and they're killed. It's a nativist act. It's because they are immigrants, and America does not like immigrants during this time period. So what's the Kellogg-Briand Pact, and what's the major problem with it? The Kellogg-Briand Pact officially outlawed offensive war. So offensive war means land grabbing war, which means imperialism. So you can't conquer other countries anymore. So it outlaws it. The only problem is sometimes you actually have to threaten a war to prevent a war. And this is actually illegal. So you're not supposed to have a war, but sometimes you got to threaten a war to stop a war. And the problem is remember, crazy people don't listen to please don't stop. They normally listen to force. And so that's another problem with it. Define consumerism. So if you look at the root of the word consumer, and then ism is always the belief. So this is the belief of buying a lot of crap. So consumerism is the excessive buying of goods. So you have 200 shoes, but you only got 2 feet. Do you really need 200 shoes? Miss Davis does. All right, so flappers. I don't even know, kids, how many shoes I got anymore. And so a flapper is a woman who goes against traditional values by drinking, smoking, dating, works. She's got an education. This is a modern day woman. This is a woman who is independent minded, and she doesn't care what a man thinks about her or says about her. She's a modern woman. She ain't her mother. Okay, that's what she isn't. Okay, so when you look at 82, what are the 3 causes of the great stock market crash, and you have to explain each. You ready? All right. So the great stock market crash, remember, this is actually going to occur October 29th, 1929. And this is when our stock kind of plummets, okay? First cause, speculation. Speculation is when people are gambling. People make purchases on stock that they are hoping to turn around like the next day or next 2 days to make a quick profit. So it's gambling. You know, you're only in it for the short term. If you're only in it for the short term, you could care less about the long-term effect of what you're doing. And so you're just doing it real quick. Like people who buy homes and flip them, they're speculators. They're gambling. You know, they're not caring in the long run about the neighborhood or anything like that. They're buying a home cheap and they're hoping to turn it around in a week or 2 for a quick profit. Buying on margin, this means people take out loans to actually buy stock. So if you didn't have enough money to actually invest in the first place, you're going to go get a loan that you have to pay interest on to go and invest. So people took out loans to buy stock. So if you don't make any money, you still got to pay the loan back. You still got to pay the interest back, but you don't have any money. So how the heck are you going to do it? It means you're going to default on the loan. And every time somebody defaults, they can't make their payment on a loan. That means the bank has got to start trying to figure out how they're going to start collecting on other people. Or they're going to have to start raising their rates. Third reason is easy credit. Everybody in this country has easy credit. Everyone gets easy credit. Like no job, no problem. That's a problem for people who have a job. So if you owe more than you're worth, this is what we're talking about with easy credit. Everyone can get credit. It means people are overextended. You know, you make $5 payment here, $5 payment here, and by the end of the month, remember what I showed you, you don't have any money to live. So what was the Dust Bowl in the region? So remember, the Dust Bowl is in Oklahoma. It's in the Midwest, and it's an environmental disaster that happens because we're looking at World War I times, and America is producing enough food for the entire world. And after the war is over, the farmers are still producing a whole lot of stuff. They're producing a whole lot of food. They're actually overproducing food. And that means food prices drop. and they're not making any money, but they keep producing a whole bunch more, thinking, I'll just make, another couple acres of land, and I'll farm a little bit more, and I'll be able to pay off my debts. And it doesn't happen. It strips the land of all the nutrients, all the goodness that was in the land, and you get huge dust clouds. It's horrible. The people who rebuild the Dust Bowl region, remember, will be the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC. So that will be a FDR New Deal program. So now you have to identify the bonus army and the president. The bonus army is basically World War I soldiers. They are veterans, and they want their bonuses early. They were promised a bonus for signing up for the war. So they signed up, in so many years they were going to get a bonus. They want it early because they're broke. They don't get any money, so why wouldn't you want your bonus? They protested in front of D.C. This looks bad. And so President Herbert Hoover sends the military to actually tell the veterans to leave. The military, led by General Douglas MacArthur, is going to use violent methods to forcibly remove the veterans. It's a huge disaster for Hoover. He actually loses the election of 1932, not just based on the economy, but also because you cannot hurt World War I veterans. You can't hurt any veteran and think you're going to get away with it. He doesn't do it on purpose. It's just that MacArthur is going to have guns and he's going to use force. I mean, you can tell people to leave, but they might not want to leave, and that's what ends up happening. What was the New Deal program that regulated the stock market? This is the Security and Exchange Commission, the SEC. The SEC still exists today, and it still regulates the stock market. They're the watchdog of the stock market. What is the deficit spending, and how does it actually relate to the Great Depression? So deficit spending is when the government goes in debt. So you spend more money than you have. FDR will use this in his New Deal program. He actually spends a lot of money during his New Deal program to try and get the economy up and running. So he always spends more. Like when he creates all these New Deal programs, he is spending money he really doesn't have, so the government's going in debt. What was the court packing scheme proposed by FDR, and why did he actually propose it? So FDR is getting upset because of a lot of his New Deal programs are being ruled illegal. They're being ruled unconstitutional. So like the National Labor Relations Board, the AAA, the Agricultural Adjustment Act, the Supreme Court are ruling these things illegal. And so FDR's solution to this problem is to just go ahead and increase the number of justices on the court. So he wants to pack the court. He wants to go ahead and increase the number of justices on the court so that no more of his programs are going to be ruled illegal. This is what he wants to do. It doesn't happen. I mean, he gets a lot of flack about it. He gets into, like some people are like, tisk tisk, FDR, you're taking it too far. But FDR does it because he feels like the New Deal is what's going to save the country. But what ends up happening is some of those old justices, they finally retire, and FDR gets to appoint new people. Remember, once you're on the Supreme Court, you're on there for life until you decide to go ahead and retire. So the next thing we're going to look at is World War II. So what was the Munich Conference, and who attended, and the results? So Munich is in Germany, okay? So the Munich Peace Conference, that's what it's called, or the Munich Conference, is between France, Britain, Italy, and Germany. So France and Britain, democracies. Italy and Germany, fascists. They're all meeting, and really what happens is Germany, under Adolf Hitler, he's upset because he says that there's a part of Czechoslovakia where it was formerly German property before the ending of World War I. It really was. And he says that these German people who are now a part of Czechoslovakia, they're being abused by the Czech government. They're being taken advantage of, and he needs to go save them, rescue them. He says he only wants to take a small portion of Czechoslovakia. But you know Hitler, he's not going to take a small portion. Britain and France had agreed to protect Czechoslovakia. They said, we will protect you, don't worry, we've got your back, we're not going to let Hitler take you. But then at the conference, they go ahead and they appease Hitler. That means they please him. So when you look at this word appease, think of it as please. Hitler is pleased by Britain and France. And how he's appeased by them is simply for the fact that they agreed to allow him to take a portion of Czechoslovakia. Instead of taking just the portion, he takes the whole thing. I mean, he's not going to take his little slice. He takes the whole freaking country. And what does Britain and France do? Nothing. They don't do anything to him. So remember, this is the dangerous lesson that Adolf Hitler is learning. He's learning he can do anything he wants. He's rebuilt his military. He took the Rhineland. He took Austria. He's taken all of Czechoslovakia. Nothing happens to this dude until he invades Poland. That's when Britain and France will actually declare war. But this is 1938 when at the Munich Peace Conference, Britain and France, their economy is still really bad. They don't have a military, so they really need time to actually build up their military. So they're buying time essentially for themselves. So the big three and the countries and the leaders. The big three, Britain under Winston Churchill. The Soviet Union is going to be under Joseph Stalin, and the United States is going to be at first under President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and then when FDR dies, his vice president, Harry S. Truman, is going to become the new president. And remember, Truman's the one who actually ends the war because he will drop the atomic bomb on Japan, and he finishes up even the war in Europe. So what does it show about the U.S. and the Soviet Union, the USSR, allying themselves in World War II? Here's what it shows. We're actually willing to work with unfriendly people as long as we have a common enemy. And this is going to be even more true during the Cold War. We actually work with a lot of people who are really bad people who kill. They have death squads where they go and kill their own people, but we'll be okay with it because our common enemy in the Cold War is communism. So you have to remember, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's kind of how it works. So the Manhattan Project was responsible for, everybody knows, the atomic bomb, right? All right. Now we have the A-bomb, or the atomic bomb. We drop it twice. We drop it on Hiroshima, and Nagasaki, Japan. And so we kind of do it for a couple reasons, and we're going to look at why. Rosie the Riveter, who is she? She is every woman who works in the wartime industry. So during World War II, the men are over there, they're fighting in Europe, they're fighting in Asia, and all their jobs are available. And so women are going to fill the position. Women are actually told it is your patriotic responsibility to fulfill your husband's old spot. And so women go in, they work in the wartime factories, they make ammunition, they make tanks, they make airplanes. I mean, they do everything they can. They're Rosies. And then when the boys come home, the women are told, go back home, make sandwiches, make beds, raise kids. And some of these women are going to say, no, that's not how it's going to work. And so the feminist movement starts because of the Rosie the Riveters. You'll see like the feminine mystique being written as a result of this. These women, some of them do go back, but they will teach their daughters to go ahead and want and demand equal treatment. So why did Truman actually decide to use the atomic bomb? And give two reasons. One, he definitely wants to shorten the war, save American lives. Another reason is he hates Joseph Stalin. He does not trust the guy, and he wants to show Joseph Stalin that we have more power. Remember, we dropped the atomic bomb. Stalin has promised that he was actually going to help us in the Asian or the Pacific theater of war. He says he's going to help us. We dropped the atomic bomb at Hiroshima. The war in Europe's been over for some time, and we dropped the atomic bomb, the first one on Hiroshima. 2 days later, the Soviet Union actually declares war on Japan. But the war's been over for months in Europe. So it really does show Stalin that we have power. Now, he's got spies in our country, and those spies are actually passing secrets of the atomic bomb, so they'll have it very shortly. But I mean, it shows the Soviet Union that we are willing to use an atomic bomb to destroy them if we need to.